I will turn it over to the panelists, and Lauren is on her way, and you guys can maybe start by introducing yourselves and the topic of advocating for your child. Thank you.
Okay. So my name is Ashley Dew, and I am an American, obviously, but I live in Germany with my German husband and my half German, half American son. I'm originally from Georgia. And yeah, our son, Ansel, he has the GRIN2B mutation, and he's heavily affected by it. So he has severe epilepsy. He can't walk, he can't talk, although he has his own wonderful language. He doesn't use his arms or hands. He's completely dependent on us. But every time I hear myself explain my son to somebody, it's always feels a little bit surprising because that's not how I see him. So he's like as perfect of a human as they come. He's, in my eyes, he's just the best human being on the planet, with my husband coming in a close second. So that's me, and that's Ansel. And Jen?
All right, so I'm going to have everybody stand up, please. And I want you to take your right hand and raise it way up here like this. And then I want you to reach back, and I want you to pat yourself on the back, okay? And the reason for that is because you are the heroes in the lives of your family, your children, your grandchildren, whoever it may be. You can sit down if you want. I'm Jennifer Sane. I have a difficult time just sitting on a stage because when I am on a stage, I am presenting. So bear with me as I walk around. But I am the grandmother of a GRIN2A child. She is 4 years old. Her name is Aurora Rose. Yes, Sleeping Beauty. And she is that. She is a Sleeping Beauty. And she is the light of our lives. Her mom could not make it here today. We actually live in Florida, but we didn't have a night nurse because Aurora has a pretty severe GRIN2A in that she has COPD, she has multifocal epilepsy, she has a feeding tube. In the end of November, she got a tracheostomy with a ventilator due to the COPD, and every time she gets a cold, her lung capacity is reduced, and ultimately we had to make the decision, well, my daughter had to make the decision on her own whether or not to trach her or end of life. So that was her decision. So we put her on the trach, and she's doing well. She has 24/7 nursing, but the nurse can't make it tomorrow night or tonight, which is why Alyssa couldn't come. But she is truly the light of our lives, and very similar that she's going to be relying on us for the rest of her life. She can't sit up, she can't hold her head up, obviously can't walk. She has developmental delays as well, and cortical vision impairment. So she's not reaching out, grabbing anything. She can't distinguish faces. She can hear. She likes music. And she can, we think, distinguish our voices, which is a blessing. And the other day, I just walked up to her, and I just grabbed her nose. And she got the big smile on her face. So what you'll find every day is that it's those little things that mean so much to them and mean so much to you. And so I really appreciate all of you being here. And while we wait for Lauren, I don't know if you guys have questions you want to ask, or if you just want me to ramble on, or perhaps break into song and dance, I'll be happy to do that for you as well. Just let me know what you need. Run with that mic.
My lesson by now.
My wife and I are the parents of two special needs daughters. One is GRIN2B, the other one is Smith-Magenis syndrome. So they're both, so to speak, very different from normal children. as we would put it. My question is, as parents, how do you go through life if, without, going through life without getting to, to see your kids those milestones? As a parent, you think about, hey, graduation, high school graduation, college graduation, and of course with the advent of social media, it's in your face every single day, or driving a car, or whatever it may be. So, I'm sorry if I didn't put it more eloquently, but
We know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, that's I very much get that, and I think that my my motivation has changed. Like, what gives me hope and what motivates me day to day has changed now from where I was at the beginning. And at the beginning, everybody was saying, oh, he'll walk, he's going to talk, he's going to use his arms, like he'll get there, like everything's going to be okay, which I hate the saying so bad. It's like, I appreciate where it's coming from, but anyway, that's a different conversation. But I spent the first few years of his life flying to Vienna because I live in Germany, flying to Vienna every couple of months to see a kinesiologist, flying to Switzerland to see eye specialists, driving with him by myself for a week out of every month across Germany to see special physical therapists, doing everything that I could to do all of these things that everybody said that he was going to be able to do. And he is almost 7, and he can't do any of those things. And somewhere along the way, I sort of realized that I was imposing my ideas and like society's ideas of what living a good life should look like and what that should be. And that means driving a car, that means going to prom. It means doing all of these normal things. But I realized, that's Ansel's purpose is not to learn how to do a cartwheel. Like, Ansel has a different purpose. And my motivation now is that he's happy and that he's fulfilled, and that every day of his life that I can say that we're giving him as much as we can to keep him joyful, and that my family is happy, and that my family is taken care of. And my goals just shifted because I realized that I'm going to be chasing something that for Ansel is not tangible. And so I had to completely change my mindset about it. And I accept it. I'm at peace with it. And I think that there's probably, I'm not a very religious person, but I'm a very spiritual person. And I feel like there's a bigger meaning behind a lot of things that I might not necessarily understand, but I accept it. And I think that that's just been sort of like a personal, internal journey that in the end is turned out okay. And we're just happy that he's happy.
So that peace comes differently for every person. It's a very individual experience. And, I love what Ashley said about chasing something that's not tangible. My daughter, it's a little different in our household. My daughter and my granddaughter live with me because my daughter has to be able to provide for Aurora by not working, quite frankly, because that's the only way she can provide for her with Medicaid. So they live with us. And to be honest, my daughter was 22 years old when Aurora was born. It's her only child. She's a child herself. So that peace has not come for Aurora or for Alyssa yet. It's not there. She does not have that peace. I'm being frank. She is still in, even though Aurora is 4, she's still very much in the, my daughter will never be able to say my name or say mom. My daughter will never be able to distinguish my face. My daughter will never be able to give me a hug. And with every holiday, it makes it that much more difficult. And I was just telling some folks the other day, even me as a grandparent, you think about those things. Like, I'm not going to be in the kitchen baking cookies with my granddaughter. That's never going to happen. But will I put her in the kitchen with me? Heck yeah. She's going in her stroller and she's sitting right there in the kitchen with me. And if it means I can just, even though she's on a G-tube, if I can rub some chocolate on her lips, by gosh, I'm going to do that. And that's how we bring those pieces and those little moments of joy to create our own normalcy, because the world's normalcy is not ours. So we have to find the normal in our lives that makes a perfect child happy and content in what she knows day to day. She knows my voice. She knows, where she's at, I think, in the house. She knows when her dogs come up and lick her little feet when she gets upset. So that's her norm. And you know what? It's okay. That's okay that that's her norm. And so I myself am at peace with it. And my journey is not just being at peace with Aurora and not walking through the toy section at Christmas, right? But it's also helping to guide my daughter to help her try and find that peace that she has not been able to get yet. And that's a difficult journey, to be honest, especially when she's just so young herself. And this is, she had her own dreams, like you said, about what it would be like to have her beautiful little daughter running along beside her, and that's just not the reality. So that's kind of where we're at. Great question. Thank you so much for that, because I know it's on everybody's mind. And you know what? Don't feel guilty, guys. Do not ever feel guilty for how you're feeling, because how you're feeling is real, and it's okay to feel the way you're feeling at any given time. It's not an easy road that we've been given. We've been given it for a reason. And does it make us stronger? That's up to you to decide. That's your own personal journey.
And thank you for showing us you can still spoil your grandchildren, right?
Heck yeah, man.
Even if it's just a little chocolate, right?
We all want somebody to rub chocolate on our lips.
Yeah. Yeah. Will you do that for me? Does anybody else have a question? I have one. When we think about advocating, I was kind of wondering, there are moments when we as parents are like, dude, I just rocked that, right? What is your top moment of advocation that you both have had with your journeys where you really felt like I did something great here and I'm really making a difference in the way, that my child's going to go forward. And I guess the reason I ask that is it kind of goes back to that mind shift of finding those wins, finding the happiness where we can.
Do you want me to go?
You go ahead.
Okay. So that's an awesome question. It's a fun question to answer. And the reality is that advocating for your child can be, especially at the beginning, it can be pretty intimidating, because I know for me, before I had Ansel, advocating or just rocking any boat, upsetting anyone was just the last thing on the planet I wanted to. I wanted the peace, whatever that meant, whatever dominant force or personality was in the room, it's just have it. I just don't want to deal with it. Until I had Ansel. And then all of a sudden something meant more to me than keeping the peace. And I've had to cultivate a level of bravery and learn that I have to be firm in what I say, and I've had to learn to say no, and I've also had to learn to burn bridges. And when it comes to a doctor's office, that's highly intimidating and really, really difficult. And we've had to do that a few times. And both times I've said to my husband, I've got the matches, let's go. And every time we have been really thankful, with no regrets, that we've done that. And there was one time, so back to your question, during COVID, we were still trying to get control of Ansel's seizures, and we had been begging the neurologist that we were working with at the local hospital in our little town if we could start CBD. And he was like, no, it's no good. It's a drug. He's a very old school, top down, white coat German doctor. And he really just kept kicking us down about this. And so I found a CBD oil out of Colorado that I started. They import that to Amsterdam, and then I can order it. I can get it in Hanover. Anyway, during COVID, there was this whole issue. I couldn't get it, and I drove illegally across the border from Germany to the Netherlands, like with border control, praying to some like spiritual team up there, like, please just let this work out. Went to Amsterdam and back in one day so I could pick up the CBD oil and come back. And it was huge. It helped him. It was the first medication ever that like really, really helped his seizures. And we were sitting at some point soon after that, like maybe the next week, sitting at the doctor's office in the hospital in front of this like panel of doctors. I think there's like 4 doctors there with this head neurologist. I don't exactly remember what that specific meeting was for, but somewhere in that I was fighting because I wanted to try Epidiolex so that we could actually have it prescribed to us. So I wasn't like having to drive to Amsterdam to get this stuff. Like I wanted the prescription. And we were having this discussion, and somewhere in that I told him like, hey, I just got back from Amsterdam, like driving across the border, and he lost it. Like he was furious that I'm giving my child illegal drugs, and he just cannot in any way condone this, and like really shaming my husband. I mean, my husband and I are just sitting here like in front of these 4 doctors, just being totally shamed for what we've done to our child. And we told him that he was wrong, and we got up and left, and we never went back. And now we're at this other hospital in our town with very well-known neurologists that immediately was on our side, and team effort gave us Epidiolex, and everything in the end like worked out okay. But as far as like advocating for your child, it's like when you know something's okay and something works and something's good, and you have a team of experts shaming you for what you're doing, you learn very quickly that you have to be very willing to just burn a bridge and peacefully walk away from that, like with all of the confidence in the world. So that's one of many happy advocate moments, but yeah.
I appreciate that. I was waiting for you to bring up the matches, so
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't actually burn it down.
You're in her
but
pocket.
I go
saw them.
everywhere with a pack of matches.
I might have at that moment. All right.
So Alyssa has already been banned from one neurologist in Florida. So I can't relate to your illegal activities, but she was in not the normal hospital she goes to, and the neurologist came in, and she was having probably 15 clonic tonics a day. And she had been transported by ambulance, and they weren't going to do the EEG, and they're like, oh, it's okay, kind of very lackadaisical, maybe she has a fever, maybe it's febrile, it's like, and this was before she was diagnosed, and, my daughter, quite frankly, just lost it with this neurologist, and, how dare you, you can see right in front of you, like, here's the records, like, here's what's going on, like, and she's yelling at this guy, and he said, okay, I'm done. And he refused to treat Aurora after that. And we ended up going to St. Joseph's All Children's Hospital, and that's where we've stayed. And I think the lessons learned from really both of these stories is you, as an advocate, to Ashley's point, you can't be afraid to say no. It can be a very scary thing because often you feel like you're at the mercy of the physician because it's almost like they have all the power, right? Because if they can so easily just dismiss you and say, well, fine, we're not going to treat you anymore, then you're like, okay, now what? Now what do we do? Or, you know what? You are not a good parent, so we're just going to call CPS on you. And you can't tell me anybody here has not thought about that because unfortunately, it happens. Aurora wasn't, before she was diagnosed, she wasn't gaining weight. We were feeding her. She was at the point where she was getting baby food, and she wasn't gaining weight. And at any point when we took her to the hospital, they could have said, you're abusing your child, you're not feeding your child. Reality was she was aspirating every single thing into her lungs. And we had no idea. It wasn't until she had her first seizure that she was hospitalized that she got the attention. And that's the other thing with advocacy. Most of the things that Aurora has been dealing with, and again, this is a personal journey. Everybody's journey is different. But most of the things and the services she's received, unfortunately, occur because she's been hospitalized. And that's the sad part. For her to go to a doctor and say, well, she's got seizures. Okay, well, we'll do an MRI and we'll do an EEG and we'll schedule that 6 months from now or 8 months from now or a year from now. Whereas she got admitted, she had immediate EEG, they did a swallow study, and then they did genetic testing, which, as you know, takes about a year to even get in. She got all of that done within 2 weeks of being in the hospital. Fantastic for her, but should that be the case? Should it really be that I have to have my child in the hospital to get any degree of attention made to her? That's the sad part about being an advocate, because the doctors half listen. I'm sorry. At least our experience personally is they half listen. They have so many patients they're dealing with. They have no idea what GRI disorders are, not a clue. And one of the other issues is that you don't have that one physician that's, okay, I'm your GRI physician, and I will work with your neurologist, I will work with your GI doc, with your pulmonary doc, with your pediatrician, and I will work with your ophthalmologist and all of these other doctors in coordinating your care. Guess what? At least in our experience, that doesn't exist. You as the parent, you're the coordinator of their entire care system, because there isn't that one person in the medical field that can help you, because all they're doing is treating all of the symptoms that are related to your GRI disorder. So that, to me, from an advocacy perspective, is very difficult, because frankly, when you're going into it as a parent, you have no clue like how to organize all of this stuff. Who do I reach out to? How do I keep track of things? And that's where we have to start relying on each other, relying on organizations like Cure Grin. If you're in Florida, I'm the Florida ambassador. Give me a call and we'll talk, because everybody's kind of doing this on the fly, and nobody has a clear-cut way of managing that advocacy and managing that care for their child, because we don't have any direction. But there are resources out there, and I think that we can really start to do more to capitalize on that and to work together to develop those relationships and say, or even, this may sound like I've got somebody in this room right now. Hello, we're friends on Facebook, who is in Riverview, which is like an hour away from me. Oh, hey, like we have to go to such and such a doctor on this date. Why don't we, meet up somewhere, or maybe we can go together, or we can, whatever it, you know what I'm saying? Like there are people that are close by if we try and reach out and find out where people are to kind of help us through that, because every day is a challenge. But the reality is, and I've tried to tell my daughter this a million times, you are not in this alone. You are not the only person who's going through this. There are other people out there.
Yeah, and I think also a real important piece about that too is that any of the medical team, and whether that's like your therapists, your doctors, whomever it is that you're working with, like it really has to be a team effort, and they need you as much as you need them. His name fails me, but Hillary, the CEO, Bruce, this morning I just so appreciated actually what he was saying about how important it is, like the parents, like how that piece, like the parent piece to the puzzle is just the most important piece. And I feel like to have somebody see that and thank us and value us for what we bring to the table it's a rare occurrence that somebody in the medical staff actually recognizes that. But it definitely does have to be a team effort, because otherwise you're not going to really get where you want to be going if you don't have a trusting relationship with everybody.
And nobody knows your child better than you. And don't let the doctors fool you into thinking that, because you know your child. And there may be situations where, I'm sorry, but you may have to say, you know what, that's not right for my child. And I know this because it is my child and I know my child. So I think I agree with you. It's a team effort. And, we talked about this just yesterday. When you're dealing with a complex medical situation or a rare disorder, sometimes doctors look at you as Google warriors. You're not a Google warrior when you have a medically complex child, I'm sorry. You're not just pulling up the first thing that comes up on the list. You're doing your research. So it's not like you're trying to trump what the doctor is saying, but you're trying to educate yourself, and I think that's super important. It's just the other day, my daughter had a conversation with a neurologist who wanted to put her on this medication. She did the research behind the scenes and said, you know what, that causes heart problems. I'm not putting my daughter on it. They don't necessarily know to tell you everything. It's not that they're trying to hide anything. It's just that they've got a lot going on too, and maybe you need to that's part of being an advocate, is doing your research before you just say yes.
What I always find very strange, I used to be a tax advisor in a previous life, so I work with money. So the worst thing that can happen is that I make a mistake and somebody gets a huge tax assessment that has them go bankrupt, but I can object to that tax assessment. If my objection is refused, I can go to the courts. I can even write to the tax authorities and say, guys, please, I've been very stupid. Please help this poor person, reverse this tax assessment. There are always possibilities. It's never life-threatening. But when I occurred a problem that I didn't know the answer to, either I tried to educate myself, or I would try to find somebody else, a colleague, whatever, who could help my client. Yeah. But doctors don't do that, and they deal in life or death, or less dramatic in quality of life. And yet, they don't educate themselves. And even worse, if we as parents educate ourselves and we do the work and we go to the conferences and we talk to the researchers and we bring them the knowledge and we say, let's try L-serine, let's try memantine, let's try whatever. Mm-hmm. They still say, well, you're just the parent. They've literally told us, you are demanding parents and we're not having that. That's just beyond me.
And that's not your doctor.
Exactly.
You know, it's like, then that's not your person. And it's like, it's not easy. That's not an easy thing to say because in many cases, there are only 2 doctors in that town, you know? So it's like, in some cases, then that means that you've got to now go 4 hours away to like the next doctor. But I feel like, you know, one way of sort of approaching a doctor's office or a doctor that you're not so sure that they're gonna be able to help you is like when you go into an appointment to have, you know, your list of things that you want to discuss or things that you need out of that appointment. And I feel like a brilliant question is after you've like listed out the things that you need, to ask them, how can you help me with that? Or can you help me with that? And hear what they have to say. And if what they have to say actually doesn't hit home with you and doesn't actually like get you where you want to be going, then maybe they could at least refer you out, but it gives them the opportunity to actually answer you, yes, I can help you with this, with da-da-da-da-da-da, or actually, no, that's something that I'm not very familiar with, but I can refer you out to like whatever colleague. But yeah, I just feel like that question, like, how can you help me with this? Or can you help me with this? Like sort of puts it back on them to figure out, is this their field or not?
Her neurologist actually told us Thursday, if you find out anything on the seizure side from your conference, please bring it back to me and let me know. So, I mean, it's really about finding the right fit for you and your family. And the other thing is, and I wish I'd have thought of it months ago, but I should have invited that neurologist to this conference. Like, why not? Why not invite your doctors to this conference? They probably won't go, but at least invite them or send them the link to the online conference so they can watch some of this stuff, because they aren't familiar with this stuff in a large part. And even the nurses at the PICU had no idea what GRIN was. So I put literature in the room for them to look at. I gave out books to them so that they could educate, and they started to do it too. As soon as I gave it to them, they're like, this is really interesting. I'm going to start looking at it. So you know what? Next year, let's fill it full of our own doctors and let's talk. Let's have a conversation here at the conference. I think that would be amazing.
I can talk loud,
Okay.
but I can also.
Is this online? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's why we like the mic. I just wanted to make sure this was.
I just had a couple things that some of these questions I know. I mean, I am at the beginning of my advocacy journey, and I know that some of these questions don't have a good answer at all. But something, yeah, I agree. Like, I do a vibe check when I go to a new doctor, and I ask my hardest question, like that I've heard different answers to, and if they give me a good answer, like, that's great, and then I don't waste my time as much. But I can imagine as my kid gets older, you know, like, there are going to be less doctors that I can just, well, I'm not going to you anymore, I'll go to the next one. Like, there's not an infinite number of doctors that I can just go. But yeah, so like, one of my questions is, you don't know a lot about this. Are you willing to reach out to these specialists? Like, and now I know their names. I can be like, when you don't know, will you work with this person so that we can, like, whatever? Or like, will you give me any referral I need to go to CHOP or to go to Denver? And luckily we found that person finally, and it's great, and hopefully it will be great for a long time, but you know, it might not. But one of my questions that I know that whatever, but it's exhausting, right? And every day is exhausting. And how do I have the energy to, like, I see a bunch of ways that need work in my community for when my child is that old or whatever. Like, even if she never walks, even if she never talks, like my school district or whatever, like, I don't have any energy. And I know some people that can advocate for us, but I feel like I need to do some of the advocating, and I don't know how to find that extra energy to then advocate. And so I was wondering, I mean, I don't think that there's necessarily a good answer besides like caffeine and having more hours in the day and like whatever, but like, are there any tricks that others have found that help them be more efficient in their energy use, I guess? I don't know.
So, yeah, you're right. I don't think there's like a one-size-fits-all answer to that question, but I know that it is of the utmost importance that you find some space in the day for yourself. And if that means that's an hour, if that means it's 5 minutes, like an hour to do something that you love, or 5 minutes to just check in with yourself, have a conversation with yourself, like, you matter too, you know? It's like that person that's still there, that was there before all of this started, like, she needs something from the day as well. And I feel like, for myself anyway, I pull my energy from having I do have a really, really incredible husband. And I have a really incredible like support team around me, which is really helpful. But like, I also have a personal time that I take every morning. Like, sometimes before Ansel wakes up, like, there's some mornings that I get up at 5 o'clock. There's some mornings that I get up at 5:30. But I create a space for myself every day, just to do some of those things that I need to do for myself, not for anybody else, but just for me. And I feel like that gives me the energy that takes me through my day. So that's a simple answer. And like I said, I know there's not a one-size-fits-all, but for me, that's what's been really, really important. And I didn't have that at the beginning. I did not create that space at the beginning. And I was burning out, and my marriage almost burnt out as well. And so it was really important that I figured out how to, just create that space.
I agree with that. Self-care is extremely important, because that little one, you're her world. And if you're not taking care of yourself, then you can't give that little one what they need. And, you know, so my daughter doesn't have the father of Aurora deserted them after the diagnosis. So she doesn't have that person. She has me, and she has nurses. But at the end of the day, you know, I've told her 1,000 times, when you're not eating, when you're so stressed out that it just exudes from you, she can feel that. She feels things very well, Aurora does. And so she can sense that, she can feel that energy. So that self-care is so extraordinarily important. Will it give you that extra boost of energy? Maybe, maybe not, but it will give you that emotional piece that you may need in the moment. So if it's even just 5 minutes to go into a closet and count to 100 very slowly, just those little moments of self-care eventually become, and because what happens is, as they get older, the challenges are different, but you also, to some degree, fall into a routine. And so as part of that routine, then you work in those moments, like she said, like Ashley said, as far as, you know, in the morning, I know during this time I can have my own quiet time, whether it be I read a chapter of a book, I paint, my daughter likes to game, so she gets on the gaming, I don't even know what game, but she gets on a gaming thing, and that's her thing. But that's her thing, and that's okay. because she needs that to center and check out. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys so much, so much. We're out of time, so if we want to take a minute to thank them, I really appreciate you guys sitting up here.